Hello, welcome back to Guitar Essentials with Tracy Kim. Who do we have joining today? Raise your hand. Who? Roll call. Today is Scale Day. Back to the essentials, the foundation. Um, I'm going to take you through a scale routine, kind of a master what I call scale syllabus. These have all the basic, common, most important scales that you'll be using for rock, jazz, improvisation, maybe some country or everything pop. So type in the comments who's here. Just always taking a little poll. These lessons are geared for everybody. Primarily, however, for Patreon members. These lessons get archived on Patreon. Right now, they're available on YouTube, so they'll be on YouTube as a member, but then also on my Patreon. Um, Probably won't be on YouTube for very much longer as far as the public. But what I'm doing is creating these YouTube live streams to kind of just share and demonstrate. I can now kind of share my PDFs and stuff too, just so that you can see what I'm talking about here. So I'll show you what I mean. CR Marshall, good to see you. So like today, here is the sound slice that I'm going to share on Patreon. I'm going to reshare. It has all these scales. There's a PDF that's for free right now if you want to grab it. It's in the link. It's in the link in the description, and it's just kind of a master scale worksheet for you to go up and down these scales, starting on the root of G. So please feel free to comment. Type in the comments if you have any questions while I go through this with you. And we'll talk about the different scales in the modes and the important scales. We're not going over anything that's not common. Chris, watch out for those clams, especially the sharp 11. Save that for the Lydian mode and the blues scale. So that leads me to another topic, is for you to make sure you memorize your formulas. Formulas are a big part of memorizing scales. You know, like if I said major pentatonic, you would say 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. If I said Lydian, you would say 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I said the minor pentatonic, you'd say 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 8. Raise your hand if I'm going too fast for you. I like to kind of see who knows their formulas. I'm always joking. I really can't see you. Don't worry. um, but type in the comments is what I'm saying. You know, tell me if you know your formulas, but you can't play it. Tell me if you know your formulas, or you don't know your formulas, but you can play it. You know, it works differently for different people. Some people know both the formulas and they can play it. You might say, hey, I know it, but I can't apply it in music in real time. And that's kind of the fun part of it, is the practice part, and how do I make music from these scales. So yeah, don't forget to do this if you are enjoying these bonus lessons. I actually do kind of take a peek and see who's watching these on YouTube. And if there's not much of a turnout, then they do go private into the private sector, which is just Patreon and YouTube members. So if you do like these live streams, let me know. I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get started here, you guys, and we'll chit chat along the way. So probably the most important scale, at least in jazz, is the major scale. Pop music for that matter. So G Ionian is just a fancy name. It's a Greek name for the major scale. So when we have the Ionian mode, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are talking about the intervals. And intervals is another topic that's extremely important. And I do recommend that you check out my interval lessons on Patreon, my music theory lessons. So here's G. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, major 7, T, we'd call it T in the solfege system, and then 8. And that's just one octave. It's so important to be able to play your scales just in one octave. Don't worry about 3 octaves. Don't worry about playing it fast. Just get consistent. And then lately, I've been showing the chord scale relationship. I'm just doing 1 octave there, but I'm hitting the triad that goes with it. The other day, I posted a jazz guitar routine that goes through the 7th chords, major 7, and then the Ionian mode, and then the major 7 chord here, and then the arpeggio, and then A minor 7, and then the Dorian mode. So again, please check out that lesson. If you already know all this, then yeah, you should be working on your modes and your 7th chords, okay? And make sure you know the function of them. Again, this is in response to a lot of my students, or I'll call them students, or Patreon members, my community, saying, "Hey Tracy, what do I need to work on?" I'm kind of giving what I feel are the essentials for jazz guitar, rock guitar, pop. It doesn't matter style, you can use this in anything. And so I just want to make sure that you all know these fundamental topics: major scales, the modes, pentatonic scale, minor pentatonic, whole tone scale, melodic minor, harmonic minor, half whole diminished in the, which is called the half whole octatonic. There's 2 of them, and then the whole tone scale and harmonic minor, melodic minor. There you go. Don't worry about some of the fancy names or the modes of the melodic minor, modes of the harmonic minor. Just get the parent form. The only modes I do really recommend right now, at least, are the modes of the major scale. That's very important. And then I do recommend, as you've probably seen my recent posts, the 5 positions of the pentatonic. Definitely get that down too, okay? So that to me is essential. Those are the essentials. So this worksheet here is just your very important reference sheet for your modes. And I'll go through this with you. We've got Ionian, we've got the Dorian, we've got the Phrygian. Notice they're all starting on G. And I did this so that you can see how they differ in the fingerings and the formulas. So I did write the formula. And here's Lydian: 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll go through these all in a second. The Mixolydian: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flatted 7, 8. That's great for blues and country rock. If you want that classic, country rock, Allman Brothers, Lynyrd Skynyrd, R.I.P. Dickie Betts, by the way. Aeolian mode, the natural minor. There we go. We're talking about Stairway to Heaven and all that great classic stuff there. All along the Watchtower, that's your natural minor mode, minor scale. The Locrian, that's the 7th mode of the major scale. But again, I wrote these all out on the root of G. This is a very important way of learning and practicing them. And then, of course, the major pentatonic, and then the minor pentatonic. And yes, with those you can refer back to my other studies for the 5 positions of the pentatonics. Very important. And then the major blues, and then the minor blues. We'll go through these. And then the harmonic minor, and then the melodic minor, and then the whole tone, and then, which is getting into a little jazzy there. You got the 1, 2, 3, flat 5, sharp 5, flat 7. And then the half whole diminish, if you're thinking of it off the 1, you got 1. Well, this is great for a dominant chord. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then, of course, the master scale of them all for the music that I'm teaching here. We're not doing quarter tones. We're doing half tones, semitones. So Western music. So this is the chromatic scale, all 12 notes. And that's it. And then if you want to dive deeper, that's where I recommend go to my Patreon page, check out my harmonic minor studies, my melodic minor studies, okay, whole tone studies, etc. I'm going to check the comments, see who else arrived. If you are watching this on Patreon, click over so it shows YouTube. That way it takes you over to YouTube, because some of you say, "Hey, I'm here, hi," but I don't see it because you're not on YouTube, you're on Patreon. So when I do these live streams, make sure you click YouTube, and then it will take you over to the YouTube instead of watching it on the Patreon page, if you know what I'm saying, the landing page. And Tom just says hello. Yukon, look at this. We got the whole crew. Chris says, I know most of the formulas might be a bit off topic, but I see harmonic and melodic measures on your PDF. How important is it to know the modes of these two scales? Like I said, those are secondary. Those are not as important as a major scale. Usually I'll say learn a couple of the modes, the shapes, but don't worry too much about it right now. Just make sure that you can play off the root. Okay. And then the whole tone scale. There's only two whole tone scales possible, and the diminished. There's three of them essentially before they just invert itself. But it's not the same. You have to learn all these different fingering patterns otherwise. So that's what can weigh people down is they're memorizing patterns. So make sure you know your formulas instead of just patterns. Use your ear. Make sure you know Lydian is a sharp 4. Learn your intervals so that you can hit a note. You hit the sharp 4. Make sure that you can hit the octave and get the flat 7. The learning intervals is crucial. So that I probably will do another, even though I do have one already, live stream on intervals. I'll do yet another one. Again, this is in response to a lot of the folks on Patreon who are wanting me or are asking about, what they should be spending time on. And then this is a good way for me to gauge what do you already know theoretically and can actually play, including arpeggios. Because if we're talking formulas and I'm saying, off the flat 7, play a major 7 arpeggio to get a 13 sus sound, then if you can't play the major 7, then you're not going to be able to do it. If you don't know where the flat 7 is, then you're doubly not going to be able to do it. So you got to be able to do, the major 7 arpeggio. You got to be able to know, oh, G is a flat 7 of A, and then you'll be able to play, this sound. To get that flavor on a C major. I might say off the 3rd degree, play a minor 7. So you get that 9. So again, you want to be able to know your arpeggios, again, know your formulas, know your intervals. Extremely important. CR says, when working on modes, should we study parallel, C major, C Dorian? Yeah, that's actually what I'm writing here today. CR is parallel. These are all parallel to G, which essentially is we can't be in the same key. So if you have G Ionian, that's key of G. If you have G Dorian, that's key of F. If you have G Phrygian, that's a 3 of E flat major, the big picture. If you have G Lydian, that's a 4 of D. G mixo is a 5 of C major. So just by switching these modes, you are switching keys 5 times just by running that. A good song to learn is How High the Moon. Then it does this. Then you go to Dorian. Then does this. Then you go to Phrygian. Then you're switching keys. Then you can even do harmonic minor. And again, it's great for improvising on songs, especially these jazz songs that switches keys every measure. And it allows you to stay in one position without having to move around too much. Okay, so I'm just kind of giving you an overview more so, but let's go ahead and do some practicing now and walk through these nice and slow. You can see me down here in the little corner. You can see the screen share of this and the PDF. You can grab it for free in the description. If you're not already a Patreon member, I've got a free tier, and for pretty much all of these live streams that I'm sharing with you, unless it's specific things where I feel like you should be a Patreon member to get the materials, then I'm sharing a lot of these essentials for free. The sound slice, however, you'd have to be on Patreon to get this. So, and this is great because you could just push play and you just put the metronome on. This is just general purpose routines where you're like, ooh, I want to see if I can do this in time, and just go through these and, for yourself, for practice, and check it out. I mean, I don't know who can do it. I don't know if I could do it. 3, 4. Descending. Descend. Or D here. That sharp 4. great. Scale and a key of B flat. This is important. I wouldn't waste my time on things that are not important. Low three, that's key of A flat. And the major penta. And the minor. Oh, sorry. Right? There's a harmonic major. Melodic minor. Going on the AOB mode. And capsule. I got space. And the chromatic. So my score was maybe about 90%. I need to do that again. That's a good workout. But my timing, I got off on those. I'm gonna fix this. I'll leave the PDF how it is for you Patreon members, but I'm actually gonna make sure I leave a measure so you have a chance to breathe, because it got kind of inconsistent there, like it did at the beginning. I had a measure of just space, but then over here I started to go up and down. How'd you guys do? Who got 100%? Let me see some hands, or type in the comments. How'd you do? This gives me a good idea. Again, when I get Patreon members saying, "Hey, I know my scales. Do you know all of these scales? Can you play up and down on any root note?" That's what I feel would be very important. So, especially if you're going to play jazz. Of course, you got to know what to do with them. That's the next thing, is to make music from it. That's where you just got to stay off of one position and just jam. Put on a backing track and just play harmonic minor. G harmonic minor. I mean, check this out. Maybe we could do that one. By the way, harmonic minor. If you're a gypsy jazzer, that's the scale. Right there. That one. G harmonic minor. That's your favorite scale for you. Oh, and I know you guys know your blues, so I don't need to talk about that right now. But many people say, "What's your favorite scale? What scale do you use the most?" I'm like, well, if I'm playing gypsy jazz, it's harmonic minor for sure. Major pentatonic, harmonic minor, major scales, but harmonic minor for the minor key stuff. So what we want to do is set up a loop, D7 to G minor, back and forth, because the harmonic minor scale won't go into I've already covered this quite a bit on my lessons on Patreon, the application, but you want to use it on the 5 chord, or the 1 for that matter. And then blues root. And then I have all these great hacks that I love to share. But there I was just noodling around G harmonic minor, G minor blues. So I was actually resolving it. And of course, you could just stay in one scale, like the harmonic minor, and just maybe something like this. And just noodle around to really get to know a scale. So that's what I really recommend as you're wanting to apply these scales to improvisation. Um, yeah, type in the comments if you have any questions. I'm just going to kind of review some of these scales again. The harmonic minor is very important in gypsy jazz. The melodic minor in gypsy jazz and jazz in general is going to be one of your best friends. Probably the most common scale used for more advanced jazz soloing, because it's really more. You can use it's very versatile. You can use it on the minor chord, and then you can use it on dominant chords 3 times, generally speaking. You can use it the melodic minor scale a half step above your dominant. You can use it off the 5th degree, and you can use it a flat 7 below. Again, please check out my other lessons on the melodic minor scale, and the use of it to dive deeper. The whole tone scale also. I just posted a bonus video lesson today going on working with a private student on the application of the whole tone scale. Really great for gypsy jazz, Django style. And then the half whole diminished, also great for whenever you have diminished chords and or dominant chords, when you want to create these tensions. You have flat 9, the sharp 9, the natural 13, and the flat 5. So it really starts to blend into my I guess my spiel. I'll say when I'm saying know the chords, try to be able to play what you hear with chords. Try to be able to play it with your scales so that you can accomplish those flavors. Like I'm just demonstrating here, D7. If I like that flat 9, that's a great way to get that play the harmonic minor scale. If you like the flat 9 sharp 5, same harmonic. If you want the G minor 6/9 flavor, maybe G melodic minor would be a good choice. So again, I'm just thinking about what flavor do I like? Do I like C9 sharp 11? Again, G melodic minor. Do I want G Lydian? A over G. So then I want to bring out the Lydian mode for those chords. So again, that's where it's nice to have songs and or chord progressions that you're looping, and you can just practice these modes, or I say modes, and I mean the church modes: Dorian, Phrygian, Aeolian, etc. Let's go through these one at a time. I'm just going to walk you through it. Again, this will be archived on Patreon. So here we go. And let me just go ahead and do something here. I kind of did those long notes. I'm kind of wanting to do that. I think that will help. Not that we have to play in time again, but right here. I think this one. I'll go back to my edit page on the G major pentatonic. I'm just going to put a measure in between here. That's all. There, just some bar space. Even here, just to give some breathing room for you so you don't feel rushed. And then the G minor, a little space. Feel free to type in the comments. And then here, let's give another measure of just space. That way you can take a look and say, okay, I'm ready for the next one. You won't feel rushed. And type in the comments if you have any questions. I'll put a measure of space there too. and a measure space there. Descending and a measure space there. And that one already gets a measure. That's good. That's fine. That's at least a full measure, so you have time to breathe. And that's a good. And then this one. Okay, let's save this. All right, so let's go through these one at a time. G major scale, G Ionian. This is just starting on the 6-string root. By the way, oh, I don't have the screen share. Now you tell me. How does Jim has a question, or sorry, Yukon has a question. How does Ionian, for example, change, if at all, with other keys? Ionian is the parent scale. It's actually the most important scale. It's the major scale. So if I is just a fancy Greek name for the major scale. So if you said E flat Ionian, I'd start here. A flat Ionian. So I'm actually switching keys. C Ionian. I'm just starting. You want to start anywhere and just be able to play the Ionian scale. This particular method that I'm writing out here is starting on the 6th string. It's a big one. It's a big study. It's starting on the 6th string, using the all 6-string root of G, and then going to within position, the highest note that you can go. The pattern is the same if you start on the 6th string for this example. So again, Yukon's question is, hey, I'm going to play A flat Ionian. Well, I say, do you know G Ionian? Yeah. Scoot it up 1 fret. 1 more fret, that's A. So yeah, it's all the same patterns. It's the same formula. If you start on the 5th string root, then the pattern's going to be different. That's why you want to be able to start these in different strings, different string roots, and even on different fingers for that matter, because it's going to make you play differently. So there's different methods of playing the major scale. A lot of people think of them as 5 positions of a major scale. So thanks for that question here. Let me go ahead and load this up, and we're just going to play through these together here. Okay, here we go. G Ionian. That's just a fancy name for the major scale. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. Some people would play 3 notes per string. There's 2 notes per string on the 2nd string here. This is again spanning this position from G major 7 to G major 7 here. You want to go ascending and descending. So that was the major scale. Now the Dorian is the 2nd mode. That's key of F, as I had mentioned. And look at the formula. It's a minor scale. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, natural 6, flat 7, and 8. So here we go. And then from there, you can start on 8, which is 1, and go up. If you know what I mean. So 8 is 1 again. You get to start on 8. And again, this is not an application study. This is just a reference sheet. But of course, you can play it over 2/5. And again, that's key to F essentially. So that's where it's fun to stay in one position. G Phrygian, that's key of E flat, the 3rd mode, the minor mode. But it's a beautiful sounding scale. 1, flat 2, dark. Flat 3, that's what makes it minor. 4, 5. Flat 6, that's really dark. Flat 7. Notice I just stayed 1 octave at first. Now I'm going to start there on 8 and go up to the next octave. And I'm going to continue up a little further because I wrote it to the 3rd. Okay, beautiful scale. So I'm just showing you a little demonstration of the application of kind of some modal application, modal sounds. But really, ultimately, that was just in the key of E flat. So I could have just been playing a E flat major 7 chord to A flat major 7, 1 to 4, like this. Let's see. Make E flat to A flat major 7. I'll do a sharp 11. So it makes it like this. And again, that's doesn't sound like Phrygian anymore because of the mode. Because I was just playing E flat major to A flat, 1 to 4. So it sounds like an E flat major scale. So again, that's another part of the application, is to be able to play on the fretboard in various positions and not have to run to a certain shape that you only know one shape of. So that's especially important, as I mentioned, in the major with the major scale, because primarily we want to master playing the major scale in diatonic in pop music and rock and jazz. Lydian mode. We love the Lydian. Well, Chris does at least. Hoser. 1, 2, 3, sharp 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. Just like the major scale. There it is. And that would go with the major 7 chord, by the way. You know, this is where it's very important for practicing. I'm demonstrating some application, but I hope you already know this. But if not, that's why I want you on Patreon, so you can watch all my lessons and practice with me on these modes to master these sounds. By the way, mix that mixo. Mixo is so funky and fun, great for country rocks and bluesy style of playing too. But it's just a major scale. G mixo is just key of C, starting on G. That's a G mixolydian mode. So again, the mode is really defined by the harmony underneath it. Okay, but we are starting on that note, so that's what gives us that name, G mixolydian, because we're starting on G in the key of C. But it's a great way to approach practicing. But really, we know that that could just be a C major scale. So hopefully you know these, and you're just a reinforcement of what you already been practicing and learning. G Aeolian, that's the relative minor, so that's in the key of B flat major. So some songs switch from the parallel major key to the parallel minor key. So I think this is very important, the major scale and the Aeolian mode, the natural minor scale, to get down. You know, so you might have like a song where you're going 1, 4, 5 in the key of G major. And then maybe this. 2, 3, Ionian. Aeolian, G. Major. Parallel minor. Major. That's really common modulation scheme from classic rock to contemporary rock to jazz is that parallel major and minor key. It's so fun to practice. And all I was doing to demonstrate is just Ionian, Aeolian. And I was staying completely in one position, and that way you can switch keys. Very important. You don't have to move your hand at all. You knew that you were going from major to parallel minor. So that's a very important one. And then the Locrian is a seventh mode. That's a nice one. I actually loved starting on the Locrian mode for a major seven chord. So I would start on for an A flat major seven. I would start a half step below on the Locrian mode, and that gives me the major seven. Major pentatonic is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8. We know that one because we've been doing so much pentatonics lately. Same with the minor pentatonic. Don't need to discuss that, but actually I should. I should talk about that. Again, these are called the parallel keys. So G major to G minor. If you wanted to not worry about the modes, it's really nice to think just the pentatonics. So again, think about a 12-bar blues right here. That's your 4 chord, major. 4, dominant. Back to the 1, dominant. And you can just use a pentatonic. For the 5, I'll put a, and then a little Jimi Hendrix. 2, major pentatonic. Minor. Major. Minor. Little blues. Major. Minor. Major. Major. Minor. And now I'm just kind of goofing around different positions as well. But it's more of an oral thing. I want you to hear like, oh yeah, I know that sound. Major to minor. Practicing major to minor, again, is essential. So that's why, again, just get these scale shapes down and noodle around. Major blues, we're just adding in a flat 3. Minor blues, we add in a flat 5. Harmonic minor already demonstrated. That's your gypsy jazz sounding, or if you love minor key songs like Black Orpheus and or those type of songs, and you're going to love the harmonic minor. Melodic minor, as I mentioned, is a great scale for jazz. Whole tone, ton of gypsy jazz. Again, watch my recent video lesson on Patreon, a bonus lesson. It's a 40-minute lesson working with a private student, just going back and forth from C major to G whole tone. So that's used on the dominant chord. Similarly, this would be on a G7 chord. And watch my caravan video. I'm just naming, I have tons of lessons on these. Again, more advanced type of sounds and scales. Chromatic scale, we don't need to talk about. That's every note. So you can play chromatically. That's a great way. When you don't know the chord changes, you just run chromatic licks. It's like, hey, what chord am I on? I don't know. So just run a chromatic scale. Well, hey, thanks guys for joining me today. Hope this opened up some new ideas for you, or just like, hey, what do I practice? Make sure you learn these modes. Make sure you learn your scales, pentatonics, harmonic minor, but take it, as I mentioned, start with all the 7 modes of the major scale. Simultaneously learn and master your pentatonics, your 5 positions. Start to mix and match and actually apply it to chord progressions. Learn the harmonic minor and melodic minor, and whole tone and half whole diminish. Quickly here, I'll just look for a few questions. I got a lesson coming up here. Let's see. I guess that's it. Just Chris Hoser, Momstein, and no relation Ingve apparently, has one question. Any chance we could get a PDF with these chord types you just played? Scales, accent, and flavors. Yeah, Chris, I just posted it. I know that it's hard, and it's hard for you to know everything. But I just said major 7, major scale, chord. So just go through that routine there. That's my 7th chord routine with the modes that go with it. I don't know. I think that's hopefully answers your question. If you don't know that D7 sharp, D7 flat 9, sharp 5 goes with the harmonic minor scale, in that case, then please watch it's on Patreon. It was on YouTube. I took it off. It's just on Patreon or YouTube member. A lot of these, again, will get archived on Patreon if they're not on YouTube anymore. But they air on YouTube as, like a, I guess like a TV show, they will air, but then it gets archived on Netflix. So these all get archived on Tracy Kim Patreon and Tracy Kim YouTube member, if you're looking for a particular lesson. So if you don't know, D7 flat 9 sharp 5 goes with the G harmonic minor, and or G13 flat 9 goes with the half full diminished. Watch those lessons where I go through that. They're specifically 1 hour lessons just on those scales: harmonic minor, melodic minor, the three uses, the pentatonic. Okay, cool. Rock on. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you joining in. I know you guys are itching for a new tune too. It's good to apply. I've got so many songs on Patreon, so right now I'm just covering what I feel is the essential stuff. Just trying to answer any important questions on arpeggios, scales, modes, seventh chords, sixth chords, chord inversions, triads. I mean, come on, what else is there, right? Once you know all that, you just got to have fun and learn your favorite songs, from the Bee Gees to Beach Boys to Beatles to, jazz standards. I find jazz standards to be the most exciting chord progressions to solo over, and challenging at the same time. That's what I mean by exciting. But I love those old songs too. But of course, play. You can find and be creative with anything from in contemporary music too. So experiment, write your own songs, write your own chord progressions like we were just doing here. All right, well, cool. Great to see you all. Have a good night, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers.